how can we dismantle implicit biases? How can we educate without schooling or media's intervention? Seriously, riddle me that real quick.
Black men are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by cops than white men.
They don't want us to succeed.
How much more do we have to take?
What is going on, y'all? We are back. Thank you for tuning in, y'all. It's the Leon Block, and I'm happy to have you as usual. I'm Jontel, your kinfolk with the info. What's going on today? I saw this clip, right, on some news station. I don't know. I'm not even going to tell you, but I do want to play this clip. But let me just show you, because yeah, it's.
As we continue following the Ahmaud Arbery murder trial, we also continue our deeper dive now into the wider impact of this case when it comes to race relations in this country. Joining us now, mental health expert Wisdom Powell, director of the University of Connecticut's Health Disparities Institute. Wisdom, great to see you.
Great to see you too.
So listening to Travis McMichaels' testimony yesterday and today, 6.5 hours of testimony, did you get a feel for implicit biases in any way that he may have had that led to the death of Ahmaud Arbery?
Absolutely. And I think we were all quite surprised to see Travis McMichael take the stand in the first place. But the testimony, as you alluded to, provided really important details about his state of mind leading up to and on February 23rd when he shot and killed Ahmaud Arbery. For example, we heard Travis McMichael state that he was simply trying to find out what Mr. Arbery was doing. But his testimony also made clear that he and his father pursued Ahmaud Arbery with loaded guns in hand. And I think it's important to put that into context as he makes claims of self-defense, which were expected. Mm-hmm. But his recounting of those events implicate perhaps deeper subconscious psychological processes and motivations at play. Mm-hmm. I think, first of all, it's important for people to understand that suspicions are not facts. And in many instances, more often than not, those human suspicions are rooted in implicit biases about individuals that are based on race or ethnic difference. And we're seeing that quite clearly being established in the testimony given.
And then what's the impact of that to people of color hearing this testimony and even specifically the description of Arbery as being angry with clenched teeth?
In my 20 plus years of doing work in the field of health equity and advancing racial justice, particularly for Black males in our nation, I can't express how many times I've heard the stereotypic description of the angry Black male being leveraged in these kinds of conversations. And what's curious to me is the expectation that one wouldn't be angry when being pursued aggressively with a gun. And also the fact that he's making an assumption about the emotional state, the interior life of this Black man. And that's pretty common, actually, and problematic for lots of reasons. As a community, listening to that information just really rings historical alarms and reminds us of the deep, abiding empathy gaps that we often see play out for Black males. Their humanity is rarely recognized, and in fact, they are reduced to stereotypes, as was the case in this instance. And to hear Travis McMichael actually say that out loud was also striking. but also reminds me of how deeply embedded these implicit biases and assumptions are in the American imagination.
It's interesting, just to follow up on that quickly, talk about angry with clenched teeth, yet at the same time, Travis McMichael gave a yes ma'am, yes ma'am, yes ma'am to the lead prosecutor when she said, he didn't curse, right? Yes, ma'am. He didn't say anything. Yes, ma'am. He just kept going. And so that completely contradicts how they're trying to portray him as this angry black man when clearly he wasn't saying anything and he was just trying to get away as Travis McMichael tried to stop him 3 times.
Absolutely. It's also interesting to think about that in the context of what he expected. You know, expectations of deference on the part of racial and ethnic minorities when confronted with people who have perceived or assumed authority have been with us for a long time. And we heard Travis McMichael say many times that he just wanted to stop and question him. And the fact that he thought that he had a right to do so also stems from a larger issue in our society around power hierarchies. Who has the privilege to refuse that type of approach? Who has the privilege to retain bodily autonomy and a sense of agency, even in those moments?
Right.
We hear Travis McMichael saying over and over again that it was his duty, right, to defend the neighborhood.
How?
And that also has deeply embedded roots in racial bias.
Yes.
Biases about the
Policing.
encroaching other, that dangerous other who enters a neighborhood or a community that doesn't belong to him or her.
Because you're brown.
Those ideologies are also at play and operating. And it'll be interesting to see how the defense counters that assumption or makes it clear to folks or tries to resolve that in some ways in the minds of jurors.
Wow, interesting. I never even thought about the implicit bias in that term, defender of the neighborhood, and how it would apply with racial context. The defense has called for mistrial because of the presence of Black pastors in the courtroom, specifically Reverend Jesse Jackson. Defense attorney saying they're concerned about the influence on the jury. It may sway the jury. Defense attorney Jason Sheffield even saying that the people who are joining the Arbery family in the courtroom are part of a larger conversation that is happening nationally that has been funneled down into the community. And so they represent a national conversation that is for the conviction of the defendants. I mean, I was astonished by that comment. What was your reaction to that? And how did you read that and how he said that? I mean, of course, this is a national conversation. We've been in the middle of a racial reckoning in the past year and a half, 2 years.
Right.
Yeah, it's shocking, right? That would even come into play. But here's the rub. Racial trauma occurs collectively. Therefore, the healing that is required to overcome, move through, and metabolize that trauma also has to happen collectively. So what you're seeing play out here is a cultural sort of way of dealing and healing that has existed for Black communities forever. We have always called our ministers to the proverbial threshing floor to stand alongside us in moments like these when we're confronting collective trauma. I don't understand why that would be problematic now. I mean, if ever there was a moment when we need a coming together, a collective stance on healing and moving through a moment, it's now. And I can't imagine why you would be threatened by that, except that you don't want to present want the public to see a unified front being presented for Ahmaud Arbery.
Right.
And we should be standing in solidarity with any person who has experienced this type of racialized or potentially racialized violence. I see it as racialized violence. I realize that some folks may not, but I think that it's important for us to not interrogate that way of healing. Because it is indicative and natural to the ways that Black communities have healed for generations.
Hi. There you go. Booyah. Like, I thought that was extremely powerful. WXY people seem to make any excuse of humanity to justify taking humanity from a person of color while taking their life, yet not thinking twice about it. Only thinking about a million times more their own life. As if black or brown people are automatically an enemy and automatically a danger and trouble just because of their skin. You know, that we're naturally prone to it. You'd be surprised how many people still truly think like that. That we're all brown people are just predisposed to being criminals. We're just all bad simply because we're brown. People don't realize how fucked up that is and how wrong they actually are. They think that they're actually right in thinking that and that it's normal. It's normal for them, but and these folks will get so upset and defensive, just like them soccer moms and them construction dads at school board meetings, claiming they don't want their kids to learn their history. It's all the same. But these people don't see it that way. Truly. Or they do and they just don't care. How can we dismantle these biases? That is my question. How can we educate without schooling or media's intervention? What are your solutions? I'm asking what your solutions are, everyone. I do have some block drops, actually, some breaking news that I find important to talk about really quick. Seriously, it's some is kind of good news, I guess. Well, for one, do you remember last night talked about Julius Jones? Evidence shows that he could be innocent. Remember, the one that was scheduled to get executed tonight? Well, he's not going to be executed now. I just found this out, so there will be more to come the next episode. Do not worry about that. Also, there's a young Asian man, Christian Hall. He was having a mental health crisis. He happened to have a pellet gun on him when police came up to him. I guess they had to stand up for about 40 minutes or some shit like that. I will find more information on the story later on and give you a more confirmed story. They said he was about 70 feet away before police shot and killed him. And the mother is calling for more action and more awareness to mental health and that he did not need to be shot. And this is something that we hear about and see and talk about all too often. This is something that we need to talk about more because something needs to be done or this is going to keep happening. They're going to keep shooting people that are in mental health crisis. Also, $15 million was awarded to Elijah McClain's family by the city of Aurora, Colorado. And I think we were notified and talked. We did talk about that before. I kind of feel like I forgot about it, to be honest. I can't recall. I'm so sorry about that. We follow so many things here on the block, to be honest, that it's kind of hard to keep up. There's so many different things going on. But I just wanted to update y'all on a couple of things. I felt the need that it was important, especially surrounding the Ahmaud Arbery case, because I have not been following it as closely. And as I've been researching some things lately, I'm just as disturbed as the Rittenhouse case. You know what I mean? So just make sure y'all share and spread this. Make sure you subscribe. I really appreciate y'all. And I do not currently have links because I'm chilling in bed as I'm doing this, not gonna lie. But I just wanted to let y'all know this. So, of course, and as usual, thank you for tuning in to the Leon Block. Meditate on your path, celebrate your being, liberate your spirit, and educate yourself, y'all. I'm Jontel. Arm yourself with knowledge and have a blessed journey.